Welcome to the Adulting Podcast. I'm Zack Peter, a naturally platinum blonde podcaster, author, and sassy self-improvement addict spewing all those burning questions you're too afraid to ask.
And I'm Abigail Fraher, an unfiltered boss babe, daylighting as a lifestyle guru, stirring the pot on social issues. We're here to help you look cute,
live well,
work hard,
and stay woke.
Together,
let's conquer adulting. Welcome back to Adulting, everybody. I'm Zack Peter.
And I'm Abigail Fraher.
I feel like my I don't even know, what is
that? That was
cadence?
Really intense. You were really excited today.
What is the term? I don't think it's cadence. What is it like where I was like, Zack Peter? I do that every week now. It's like just like a thing. It's part of my vernacular. Is that the right term?
I need to come up with something.
I need to learn. I need a thesaurus, and I think we're gonna learn some new terms this week.
Yes, I am ready for that. So ready for that.
I know I am. All right. Today's guest she's a little brash, but she's wildly entertaining. She's a writer and a reporter with bylines for publications like Marie Claire, Cosmopolitan, Women's Day, The Rumpus, Birdie.com, Who, What, Where. And she's a bit of a word slut, if I ever knew one. Please welcome author of Wordslut and Cultish, Amanda Montell.
Hello, nice to be here. Wow, you really did some digging because I have not announced that the name of my second book is Cultish yet. Not like publicly or formally. I don't know where you found that, but well done.
Wow, shit.
We are investigative journalists on Adulting, Amanda.
Oh my God, no, I'm actually shook. I've told a few podcasts and a few people, but I guess I haven't formally announced it, and by that I mean I haven't posted it on my Instagram.
Do you want to share like a release date or like a tentative, like what we can expect now that
Sure.
Pat's out of the bag?
Okay, yes. So my first book, Wordslut, A Feminist Guide to Taking Back the English Language, is available now. It was published in summer of 2019. You can get it in hardback, paperback, audiobook, recorded it myself, wherever you get your books.
I like that you recorded it yourself. When the author reads it.
I wasn't allowed to do mine.
Oh no. Okay, well I did have to.
You're like, fuck your voice, Zack.
And yeah, I make money off of my fucking voice now.
I had to sort of audition to record my own audiobook.
Oh, wow.
I was absolutely hellbent on it because it was my precise voice. It just would have been wildly inappropriate. But yeah, so I had to audition to record my own audiobook, but now they've approved of me. So I think I'm going to be able to get to do my second book.
Now it's good to go.
Now it's good to go. But the second book, which I'm finishing up the edits on the second draft as we speak, like later today, as soon as we get off. But this book is called Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism. And it's about the language of cults from Scientology to SoulCycle. So I basically look at this wide spectrum of groups that the word cult can be applied to in contemporary culture, from groups as notorious as Jonestown and Heaven's Gate and Scientology, but also groups like multi-level marketing companies and cult fitness studios. And I look at what causes cult influence, what causes people to strike up with fanatical groups, what causes them to stay. And our culture tends to provide pretty lame, like pseudoscientific explanations for this. They were brainwashed, they're cult followers, they're mind controlled. But actually what's going on are these techniques of conversion, conditioning, and coercion that have everything to do with language. And so the book breaks down these elements of this cult language that I'm calling cultish, like English or Spanish or Swedish or Turkish, but cultish. It breaks down what this language of cultish sounds like and how it imbues our everyday lives. So
I love that.
Wow, I need to read that. That sounds so. How long is the book? I'm like, I need to read it. How long is it? No, but
Abigail's part of the SoulCycle cult, and I'm part of Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop cult.
You're in the goopy cult. Yeah, I drag Gwyneth a teeny tiny bit in the last part of the book.
I feel like you're the exact person I would picture to drag Gwyneth in the book.
But I like that because I love SoulCycle, so I want to know like what the fuck they're doing that makes me love it so much.
Yeah.
Big loaded question: is Trump part of a cult?
Oh,
vernacular?
100%. Yes. I break down.
I had to ask.
Absolutely. Oh, I break down. I mean, He's a problematic, power abusive, populist leader, just like so many notorious quote unquote cult leaders throughout history, including Jim Jones. Trump is significantly less intellectual than Jim Jones. But yeah, I do point out many of the cult language techniques that Trump uses in the book, comparing them to other quote unquote cultish leaders.
Okay.
But the book it's shorter than Wordslut, so it's like a little snack of a book. I'm obsessed with.
Like I'm gonna want more.
Yeah, I want people to leave wanting more. So the book is about. It'll be somewhere around the 200-page mark, short. Sure. And it's coming out in June 2021, so we have some time. I'm currently in the book cover design approval process, so.
You got so lucky with this deal. I could not approve my last cover, and it was so fucking bad. It looked like a Jesus cover. It was just so bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, the book cover design process can be really dramatic.
I remember on your Instagram, you had all of the different options that you listed out. That was fun.
No, I shared that for Wordslut recently because it is super interesting to see the evolution. And I just I just got social distance drinks outside, very safe, with the author of the new novel Pizza Girl, this young woman named Jean Kyung Fraser, who just published this amazing 200-page snack of novel. And we were swapping war stories, publishing war stories, and she was showing me her cover drafts, and her publisher actually hired this outside t-shirt designer to do her cover, which was super cool. And I love the cover of this book, Pizza Girl. But I'm currently struggling because the designer who did my Wordslut cover, which I love, is also doing my Cultish cover. But I'm going for like the complete opposite style. The Wordslut cover was very like minimalist and bright, but a lot of negative space. And this cover, I want to be like maximalist, psychedelic, spooky, haunting, and like it's tough getting there.
Oh God, I can't even imagine.
Well, shit. I know we dived right into the convo.
I know.
we like to start off every episode with doing a fun icebreaker called Espresso Yourself that Abigail will kick off.
Let's do it.
To like help humanize you now that we've gotten to see like what a badass you are with like all these books and you have all the terminology and the
like reel it
language
in.
down.
Be normal. Be a normal human. Like why are you so accomplished?
Clearly, like it comes at the expense. Like something's got to give because I look like a toe today.
Oh my God. So I'm just going to start the sentence. You're going to finish it for me with the first thing that comes to mind.
Wow.
So the first one is, I can't start my morning without.
An iced oat cortado.
Oh my God. What is a cortado though?
Okay, let's go there. Because I was like, wow, I was expecting something like really cute that goes with the environment that you're in right now. And you're like, oh, actually, I'm the most annoying coffee order ever.
Yes, it's like a short cappuccino.
Oh my God, I love
So it's just like all espresso pretty much?
Yeah, it's like
then you like a splash of oat milk?
Yeah, it's well, what would be the exact ratio for a cappuccino? I'm not sure, but it's just a little less milk.
A little less. Okay. So we're drinking right now. Do you make it yourself or do you have to go buy it?
No, I learned. But okay. I guess my answer is more like I can't start my day without an excuse to leave the house, and like
I love that
is like a safe
excuse.
Yeah, that's a safe way to leave the house, and it's a routine, it's a ritual. But I shouldn't defend myself because it is a fucking iced oat cortado, and
don't defend yourself. Own it. I love it. I don't even know what the fuck that is. I just learned what a macchiato was compared to a latte. So you know. You got me beat.
Life is
again.
A learning journey.
So the next one is to work out during COVID. Do you work out during COVID?
I experience incredible internal stress, and that's what ups my heartbeat and gets me sweating.
Oh my God.
That's the most honest response I think we've had. People are like, yeah, I go on walks and stuff still, and I'm doing my at-home workouts. You're like, I just stress. I stress my heart rate up.
I schwitz. That's what I do. I will say I have a yard. We're blessed with a front yard, and my boyfriend will force me to work out. He'll like put on his workout clothes and he'll ambush me, and he'll be like, "Cutie, we're working out now." And I'll be like, "No." And he'll be like, "You're already wearing leggings. Just stand up." And then he'll like force me to do squats, and but sometimes he'll just put on Robin and let me dance around, and he's like, okay, that can be
that's your workout. Oh, Robin's a good to dance to. The next one is I feel sexiest when.
Do you never feel sexy?
I feel sexiest when that is so hard to answer. Why? I'm just like not in a sexy phase of my life right now. I feel sexiest when I am wearing, no, that's not it. Wow, I'm really revealing a lot about myself right now.
And your confidence level.
I was just explaining before we started recording that I'm dealing with a cat health crisis right now, which is like the least sexy thing you can do in your entire life is like take care of a terminally ill cat. So, okay, I feel my boyfriend probably wants me to get into a sexy mentality. Let's see. I feel sexiest when I feel confident after a glass of wine and I'm telling jokes and they're landing and I just feel like a bantery bitch.
Snaps
I love
for
that.
Amanda on
Snaps
that
for that. The world's a better place when you're a bantery bitch. I love it. And then the last one is I feel most like a boss when
I feel most like a boss when I assert myself professionally without necessarily caring about being well liked.
That's great.
That's a great one.
I'm learning how to do that. With my first book process, I literally made it my goal to be the easiest author my publishers had ever worked with. And now I don't care.
No, and because I feel like you get a better result when you don't care.
You get a better result when you're not afraid to professionally and cordially but firmly assert your authority and assert your opinions, not to be a dick, just to not be a doormat, you know?
Do you feel like people then consider you a bitch because you are so assertive with what you want? And what is your reaction to that? Because I know you have very strong feelings about the term bitch.
Yeah, I mean, everyone I work with is a woman. And so I would feel like it was sort of a huge betrayal of the gender that we belong to, portray.
Are we allowed to call each other bitches anymore, just like in general? And like, how do we use that term?
My opinion about slurs, and I expressed this in chapter 1 of Wordslut, is that I don't want anyone to police my use of gendered slurs. After all, these are terms that are hurled at women. We should be able to reclaim them for ourselves. And there are feminists that disagree with that, who think that terms like bitch and slut, etc., deserve to be abolished rather than reclaimed because they're damaging and they have a really fucked up history and etymology, and they've really been used in a super destructive way to keep women from power. But there are examples of gendered slurs that have been super successfully reclaimed either by the culture at large, and the most victorious example of that being queer. The word queer is now used by the LGBTQ community, and
I don't understand that term, to be honest with you. I think you need to explain that to me. You need to explain the queer term to me a little more. Okay, so here's my goal with this episode, Amanda. I want to be less problematic and like understand the terms and like how to use them and like which terms I should abolish or how to reframe certain terms.
Yeah, so
back
there's
to bitch,
not
though.
a lot of should, because this whole path to reclamation and social justice through language is not linear. It's messy. But there are certain things that I like to invite people to consider doing if that feels right for them. So with a term like queer, that was once purely a homophobic insult. But then starting around the mid-century, the mid-20th century, it started to become used by academia really first in research papers and then LGBTQ plus activists. And over the years, and this is how reclamation tends to work, the positive or neutral connotations or the positive or neutral meanings of the word have slowly but surely eclipsed the negative ones. And that doesn't mean that everybody likes the word queer or that everybody wants to use the word queer. It doesn't mean that some people still don't find it offensive, but a term doesn't have to be agreed upon by everyone to be considered successfully reclaimed. You know, we all have our certain damages and oppressions and baggage associated with different terms, but as long as, you know, the next generation of speakers comes of age hearing queer mostly as a positive term or a neutral term and not an insult, that's kind of how I see or how I define reclamation. So then there are some terms that, you know, because of our cultural gender inequalities that still exist, are terms that have not been reclaimed by the culture at large, are not appropriate for the culture at large to use, but can be used by the in-group, by the population that this term has been used to oppress.
Like
so
the N-word,
bitch is
for
a perfect example
Oh.
of one of these words. Like women and definitely also like men in the LGBTQ community, like queer men, gay men. I feel like there are no hard and fast rules, but if a woman or like one of my queer male friends were to be like, what's up, bitches? Or like, you're a bad bitch, that's totally fine and great. And I love that. And in my personal life, the way that I try to be less problematic is not to completely ice out these swear words, because I have a dirty mouth. I love to swear. I love to use colorful, like, inappropriate language. But when it comes to slurs, I try only to use them in positive contexts. So if I want to critique a man, anyone, whose doggy is that?
It's mine. I'm so sorry. One moment.
No, don't be sorry. I have a million pets. So, but if I want to critique or insult or drag to filth a man, woman, or anyone, I will do it in a gender neutral, more specific, and more scathing way. So instead of, you know, calling a woman whose behavior I don't like a bitch, I could say, you know, you're a conniving, two-faced fuck. Fuck you.
I like that term a lot better. I feel like it has more bite to it.
It has more bite because it's more specific. I'm actually critiquing her behavior, not her gender, which is lazy. It's a cop-out, you know? Like, why would I default to being like, oh, he's a dick, when I could say he is a problematic, narcissistic, megalomaniacal, fucked up, gaslighting ass. Like, I could say that. And that's more offensive because it's more true.
I've dated a few of those. Those are you. That's my type.
Right.
You just
Can I write that down?
You just described my type.
Yeah, I'm just really asking people to be more conscious with the way that they insult people, and to take the gender equation out of it because it's irrelevant and it's a cop-out. So now, like, when I use words like bitch and slut, which I do from time to time, they're only in positive contexts, so that the next generation, my kids, if I ever have them, will grow up only hearing she's a bad bitch, ooh, I love your slutty outfit, my mom's a word slut, and that's the path to reclamation as far as I'm concerned.
I like it.
So, like, what are there some words that maybe we aren't aware of too that are offensive or that are like doused in like anti-feminism, like that, but that we wouldn't know are?
Yeah. So there are all these words that are tacitly coded male and female, even though the grammatical nuts and bolts of them aren't coded male or female. So it's the reason why you might have this instinct that a man calling you hysterical or shrill or crazy or hormonal feels sexist, or why, you know, even a woman calling another woman like, oh, she's crazy, she's psycho, she's hysterical, stop behaving this way. Those words have been grouped into a feminine category, and you can find in in data sets and in multiple gendered language studies that have been done, that there are certain words that are more likely to be used in feminine contexts rather than masculine contexts. And those words are used to reinforce power structures and social norms and stereotypes. And there are terms that are more obvious than others, but the language that we use really affects our cultural ideologies about men and women. And so I couldn't help but think it was funny when I signed up for TikTok a few months ago in an attempt to keep up with the youth, that I noticed the word simp being used on TikTok. You're familiar with this word?
Simp as in like simpleton, right?
No. A simp is like a guy who is contemptuously too nice and too deferential to women. Like, oh,
what?
You're such a...
I can't keep up with all these terms.
Yeah.
Am I just getting too old, Amanda?
Is this new?
So
a new term, or is it like?
I thought this whole time I thought simp meant like simple, simpleton. Like, I don't know. I guess I was way off.
No, a simp, I think it might be related to the word sympathy or sympathetic, even though it's spelled SIMP.
Or like a wimp.
Okay.
Like a wimp.
Like a wimp. Basically like a wimp, but it's slightly different because it's someone who's sort of like is just contemptuously nice to women. Like you're critiquing them for being too nice to girls, for complimenting girls. To my understanding, I had someone point out to me that simp, like most slang in American English, is derived from African American vernacular English, but then it was co-opted by Gen Z TikTok. But what I think is interesting is that you will sometimes see simp used as this slur to critique men for being, God forbid, too nice to women. But on lesbian TikTok or like bi TikTok or the algorithms that I gloriously have in my feed, the way that lesbians use simp is as a positive. So you'll see like, oh my God, like, let me simp for you. Or like, forever alone, I'll never simp for anyone. It's like a positive thing. And I just like find that to be so interesting how like some people are trying to use simp in order to
put someone down,
in order to tell men that it's not okay to be too nice to women. Don't compliment them. Don't pander to them. And then lesbians are like, oh yeah, simp all day long.
So like, I get wild. Like men are using it to say like, oh, like he's pussy whipped, or he's like too.
That's right.
Yeah, he's too like, like the nice guy. Like you don't want to be the nice guy. You want to be the asshole because the asshole gets the chick at the end of the day.
That's right. That's right. So it's just it's reflective of our culture, right? Like if it were completely acceptable for straight cis men to be empathetic towards women, to relate to women, to be in touch with femininity, or think it was okay to align with femininity, then we wouldn't have a word like simp, or we wouldn't have a meaning like the way that these like cis Gen Z male TikTokers are using it. So that example is just to say that there are so many words that are used in slang and not in slang, just in everyday conversation, that are used either explicitly like simp or more subtly like psycho or shrill or something like that to police our genders. And then there are certain words that like I personally find to be sort of cringy or that are pet peeves of mine. Like I've gone on many tangents about the word girl boss because I find that words like girl boss, which are not only diminutive because we're talking about grown women and yet we're calling them girls. Not only are they diminutive, but they're highlighting the fact that a boss or an entrepreneur or a CEO, because we also have terms like mompreneur and she-EO, the gender neutral versions of these words, boss,
right,
entrepreneur, and CEO are tacitly coded male. And in order for a woman to feel comfortable filling this position, we have to tack a like cutesy prefix.
Right, fluff it up. Okay.
Yeah, and so like when people on social media, I mean, people in real life know not to call me a girl boss, but when I see on social media people in an attempt to compliment me say like, oh my God, you're such a girl boss. I'm like, why can't I just?
No, I'm just a boss. Gotcha.
How absurd would it be to call some, middle-aged man, not like I'm middle-aged, but a man of any age,
like a boy boss,
it would be absurd. Right. So just these subtle language things highlight what characteristics, what professions, what levels of power we think are appropriate for men and women. And if we don't think that a certain profession or level of power is appropriate for a woman, we will highlight that in the language. And otherwise, I mean, and that's true vice versa. So like, it's why we have words like man bun and man bag and guy liner. You know, it's a way for us to highlight like objects thought to be frivolous, like bags and eyeliner, are inherently feminine, which of course isn't true. And I used to be a beauty editor, so I've written about the history of men in makeup, and there's nothing inherently feminine about makeup. But our language really reflects back at us what our values are in terms of gender.
Interesting.
Wow. I feel like I just like sat through like a lecture.
Abigail, are there any, like what term do you find the most offensive to be called?
Me personally?
Or I was asking Abigail.
Oh, yeah.
Like if a grown man calls me a bitch, I'll lose my shit.
So you don't like to be called a bitch?
Not by like a dude, like a straight man. No, like in a negative, like you said, in a negative way. Like I guess if like my like straight guy friends were like, "What's up, bitch?" Like joking, I don't care about that. But like when someone angrily calls me a bitch, like that's when I lose it fully.
Interesting.
And when people tell, crazy. Like if an ex calls you, or like you're being crazy, I'm like, am I being crazy, or like have you given me reasons to feel this way? Like,
I embrace my crazy, but I don't know if that's different for me to embrace the term, because I guess there is a much more negative connotation when you're a woman that's called crazy.
But I think those are the words that offend me more, like you said, are the ones that are just that aren't like not swear words or something, but that are coming from a place of like patronizing women, like. Yeah. Oh, like I'm hormonal, or like sometimes if I'm like, oh my God, it happened yesterday. I was on the phone with my boss and I was so freaking nasty and I was just like in a mood. And he was like, whoa, he was like, someone's sensitive today. And I was like, no, I'm not. And I like hung up the phone, and then like I talked to him later. I was like, hey, I was like overwhelmed at the time. There's like a lot of shit going on, and like there was a lot of asks, and like yours just put me over the edge. I was like, my bad for being like slightly rude. And he started laughing. He's like, it's fine. I don't care. He's like, everyone has days like that. But it was like me who was like, I'm on my period. Like I didn't tell him that, but it's like in my head, I'm like, I'm on my period. Like that's probably, and it's like, no, like, I mean, yes, that it could be why actually, like medically. However, like I don't need to feel like I need to like explain that I'm not in like a happy mood. Like men, when they're not in happy moods, they don't explain it.
We just have these preconceived notions of the type of personality and again, level of power that we think is appropriate for a woman. And if a woman defies these expectations, you know, she's supposed to be deferential and polite. She's not supposed to, you know, express too many emotions, or else she's shrill and shrieking and crazy and psycho. We use these words to reinforce these stereotypes, to perpetuate them forward. And some of the language itself has gendered origins. Like the word hysterical derives from the ancient Greek word for womb. And by the 19th century, the word hysterical had come to describe what was thought to be a legitimate mental illness just for women, a female mental disorder characterized by emotional instability without cause related to her womb. So these words have like really oppressive origin. Wow. And to call a woman crazy or hormonal or whatever is just, you know, it's a ghost of that time when that was something that a woman could be hospitalized for, just being emotional for a perfectly valid reason. But yeah, not great.
I know for me, I hate when people refer to me as like the GBF or the gay best friend. Like to me, it's also very diminishing because it makes you feel like you're the sidekick to the superior. And not that I think any woman or anyone should be more superior or not. Like obviously, you know, when you get into the politics of it, like men are more superior than women in our culture. But like for me, it's such a degrading term. And I know some people embrace it. And I know a lot of girls are like, oh my God, you're my GBF. And I'm just like, no, bitch. Like I'm not your cat.
No.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, it all still comes back to power, right? Like certain people, and my guess is that a lot of these women are sort of like these Becky type girls, you know, these like young white women, they want to be.
I say it to them all the time. No, I'm just kidding.
But I mean, I think I don't say that shit. I think that we're all fighting for power, right? Like, especially people who are oppressed on some level. Like, straight cis white men are constantly battling to maintain power, and everyone else is fighting tooth and nail to gain it. And so if you're a young white woman calling your gay best friend your GBF, that's a way for her. I mean, I'm spitballing here, but like what I see is that's a way for her to like center herself, to like make herself the protagonist in life in some way. It's like, oh, I can, and this is very like American capitalist problematic, throwing people under the bus because this is how we're taught to live. But like, this is a way of her being like, oh no, I'm going to claw my way to a slightly higher position of power. But like, you're a gay man. So like, you're just my second banana. So I'm going to like stand on top of you, and I'm going to use this word GBF, and maybe it's very friendly and maybe she doesn't mean anything by it or whatever. But I think like when I hear that, I think it's a way of her sort of like trying to gain
putting
power.
You in your place.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm one up on the ladder from you.
Right.
Yeah, like you're a secondary character to my story.
Yeah. Right. And the fact that we have an acronym for that, or we have a phrase GBF, and we don't have like SBF or whatever, just shows this like default straightness. It's like the protagonist in the story is going to be straight by default, and the best friend is going to be gay. But the main character is the minority, gay, you know?
Right.
Interesting.
Whew. How you feeling?
Like we learned a lot.
Zach's gonna come out of this like, you can't say that.
I need to say that to myself more. I
know. That's what I'm saying. This is you in the mirror. Don't say that.
Affirmations. You'll just look in the mirror in the morning and be like, I am the protagonist of my own life. I am the protagonist of my own life.
I am no GBF.
Yes.
Fuck that. So I have another question for you. I was seeing that you have like a series that your downfall series. So you like to talk about like declines. Now, is it declines in like society as a whole, or do you just focus on women? Or talk to me a little bit about that, because I was really intrigued.
Yeah. So I have these little Instagram videos that I've been doing for 6 or so months now, and they all fall under this umbrella of Amanda University. So like every week or sometimes every day, I'll upload a video that drops some truth bomb or explains something, and I put on this little professor persona, and that's what I've been doing for a few months. But this semester, as I'm calling it, the series that I'm doing is called The Downfall, which I thought was funny because it's fall and we're talking about the downfalls of things. But basically, yeah, I mean, I am interviewing basically all women for it, only just because I don't know any men. But yeah, every week I interview some special guest, whether it's an author or an artist or an activist. I have some celebrities coming up, and I interview them about the downfall of something in our culture that we're either seeing or would like to see. So I interviewed the author of this amazing book called Rage Becomes Her, Soraya Shamali, about the downfall of toxic positivity in our culture. I just did an interview last week with a friend of mine who has an amazing Instagram account called Bi Astrology about the downfall of biphobia. This week, I'm doing an episode on the downfall of the stable career path. So basically, every week I have on a lovely special guest lecturer, if you will, and we have a conversation about some phenomenon, whether it's a trend or a stereotype or a system that is in these end times falling down, or that we would like to see fall down, and talking about, you know, just what that looks like in their life and life in general. And it's been really fun. But every semester I reiterate Amanda University. So like the first semester were these daily like 2 to 5 minute videos where I would break down some word or talk about why I hate the word girl boss, or talk about the etymology of the word cunt or something like that. Talk about, you know, there was timely stuff when the French official grammar police, yes, there is an official grammar police in France, determined that COVID-19 should be a feminine noun, not a masculine noun.
What?
I did a little analysis of that. So that was sort of like semester 1 of my Instagram videos, and then semester 2 was a little different, and now this is my 3rd semester, The Downfall. But once I start promoting my cult book, I'm gonna reiterate again and start talking about cult stuff. But yeah, that's the awesome Instagram stuff. It's like, a quarantine activity, a marketing exercise.
I love
people
it.
are also learning.
So we like to round out every conversation with kind of giving our biggest takeaway from what we learned in this episode. Abigail, to you.
I want you to start, Zach, because I feel like you, sir, were more problematic than I was.
I learned, so one really good thing that I learned that you mentioned at the top of this episode, Amanda, and you can correct me if I misinterpreted it, but it was that there aren't necessarily, we shouldn't polarize terms in like a don't ever use this term, but like you can soften the term and reclaim certain terms, and it really just depends on how you use the term that has the impact of delivery.
Yeah, and I mean, context is everything. There are certainly certain terms that I think we all know are not okay for white people to use. There are certain slurs, again, that have been used as terms of oppression for a certain group that is still oppressed by those terms, that it's not okay for everyone to reclaim. It's only okay for the in-group to reclaim. But in terms of gendered insults, we all have a relationship to gender. And if a gendered insult has been used against you, it's up to you to decide how you want to use it. Do you want to continue perpetuating those stereotypes and oppressions and continue to use that term as a slur? Or do you want to get rid of it from your vocabulary entirely? Or do you want to reclaim it as a positive thing? So it's not just black and white.
Yeah. And then I think my last takeaway is just don't call Abigail a bitch.
I like that one. That's a good one. I feel like like having this conversation with you made me realize that it's okay to be offended by certain things, or it's okay to like start that conversation in your own head, even maybe before you have those conversations with other people of like I said, like, oh, wow, I'm really like gender stereotyping myself with what I'm saying. Let me try to stop doing that. And then eventually, your friends are going to pick up on that, or, it's fine to be in a group setting and be like, don't say that. Like, and point it out, because then people are unaware.
And to understand why it's not okay to say that. Because I think a lot of people don't understand why it's not okay to say certain things. And they're just like, oh, this is just PC culture.
I love what you just said. I think having that conversation in your head is a really validating experience. Just to know, like, oh, I feel so wrong in my guts that someone called me this, but I can't pinpoint why. And my whole like crusade with Wordslut is to expose these studies that linguists have done that will tell you, like, this is why you don't like it when someone criticizes you for saying the word like every other word. This is why that criticism is unfounded, and this is why you should feel okay about it. And here are even some clapbacks that you can say next time someone criticizes you for saying like too much, or for calling you a bitch, or anything. There's like actual academic scholarship that can help us feel not so gaslit by society when we feel wrong about the way that someone's critiquing our language, or the way that someone's using language against us.
I like that. Abigail, did you have any more takeaways, or should we
my second one is that just like white culture sucks. Like, just every week I'm reminded of it. It's just
so true.
That's it.
Like, important takeaways for us.
It's a great takeaway. Yeah.
Like, there's some amazing quote that's like, nothing that only men like is cool. And I also think that nothing that only white people like is cool.
I would agree.
Then even more problematically, it's like white people steal things from black culture and then
like even with the word sim, like you said, like what?
Yeah, that was a perfect example of it.
It's just it's constant.
How people thought that the word yas was invented on Broad City. It's like, no, that was invented by Black and Latinx drag performers in the 80s.
Where was ochre started?
Oh gosh, I actually don't know, but my guess is that it was probably ballroom culture, like this community of 80s queer folks of color who were doing drag performances in Harlem, New York. The population documented by Paris is Burning, that amazing documentary. But that's my guess. Basically, any Gen Z.
Khloe Kardashian has tried to say that she invented ochre.
Oh my God, that makes me want to just like jump off a bridge. Like, hell no.
Don't do it.
The Kardashians didn't invent
us too much.
Anything.
Amanda, do you have any closing takeaways before we wrap this up?
I think that was a great one. The Kardashians didn't invent anything.
An conclusion. No, thank you so much for having me and for enduring my lectures. And
no, I loved it.
I'm so embarrassed that I am so disconnected from my own sexuality right now that I didn't even know how to answer what makes me do it.
You're gonna like after this go and you're gonna be like, I need to make a list of what makes me feel sexy or something.
Literally,
like that's what you're like. Go like.
We have some great episodes on like self-love and masturbation that we'll send you.
We do.
I've just been taking care of my sick cat and don't know what's going on with my own body.
You need to take care of your other sick cat and like make sure you're petting down.
That is too good. That's too good.
Amanda, where can people follow you on social media and order your books?
You can follow me on Instagram. That's my only real social media. Trying to keep it non-toxic. I stay off Twitter. I don't do Reddit. You can find me on Instagram at Amanda_Montell. And then you can find Wordslut wherever you get your books, ebooks, or audiobooks. And Cultish will be available for pre-order soon.
I can't wait for that. I'm excited.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. We really appreciate you calling in. You guys can follow me at Just Plain Zack.
You can follow me at Abigail _AF.
And don't forget to follow at The Adulting Podcast to stay up to date with all of the latest show happenings. And be sure to subscribe because we want those. We love subscriptions. We are millennials. We get validation every time there's another like. So please go and follow us. Please go and like us. You can catch us on iTunes, Spotify. We're on Roku where you can watch full episodes. You can watch the show at theadultingpodcast.com. Sign up for our newsletter because we're going to send really good emails that are just going to like make you excited when you open them. They're just going to make your heart burst with love.
Burst.
All right, guys, until next time, we'll be
#adulting.